This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohn and Shane Dale. Shane, this is the first podcast out of almost 250 that we have recorded at 11:16 at night. But Arizona-Iowa State was probably one of the most iconic basketball games I can remember this program has ever played.
Well, you know, Eric, as we're talking, I keep checking X to see when Old Takes Exposed is going to post my Caleb Love comment toward the end of the game, where I said, you know, we all know this ends with more failed Caleb Love hero ball. Of course, what I meant to say is more awesome Caleb Love hero ball. It was a you know, in the typo. It happens. Look. I'm still trying to process. I mean, the game just ended. You know, we're not doing this live, but the game just ended as we're reacting to this. It looked like Arizona was going to fall short. You know, we talked about, and last week I mentioned, we both picked Arizona to lose a close game, which looked like that's the way it was going to go with a couple seconds left. It looked like we were going to fall short by 3 or 4 points, which is about what we predicted. And I said, I just don't trust Arizona in close games, in late game situations. And while I will save those concerns for our next regular episode, because this is a special one we're doing. I'm just going to celebrate it now. I mean, that was a crazy shot.
We're not talking concern. We're not.
No.
We're not doing it.
Just reaction to the game. We'll say I'll save all my wet blanket stuff for the next one. But no, it's about time that one of those half court, full court shots went our way in MCKALE Center, or just in general. It was incredible. I'm kind of just embracing, you know, that when we talked about, is this still Caleb Love's team? And for better or worse, it still is. It still is. You know, and Arizona doesn't really have a go-to late game scorer outside of him. And they have guys who can contribute, but not someone who's willing to take the game over like he does. And of course, you know, if it's that ball goes off the backboard or off the rim, we're not talking about any of this. But just in terms of the game, in terms of the momentum for the rest of the season, I mean, obviously it's going to boost their net rating. I mean, to be featured on Monday night on ESPN, leading into Scott Van Pelt's show. Awesome.
Hold on. Let me say a few things. First of all, I have been wrong about this team. I have not had a read on this team all year.
Yeah. And
I've been way off. And, you know, this was a game that we both had Iowa State here, I believe. Yeah. And
yeah.
I mean, I thought Iowa State outplayed Arizona for the first 39 minutes and 58 seconds. And, I mean, Arizona had some runs. That end of the first half was great, but they were outplayed in the second half. And Caleb Love redeemed himself. And I mean, for this shot, and I put it on X, will be played for decades. And that's why this will be in every Arizona highlight film. And if they had lost the game, it would have been cool, but it wouldn't have been the same. This will be in every Arizona highlight film for decades. That's how amazing a shot it was. You beat the number 3 team in the country. You're 7-1 in the conference, something like that.
8-1 now. Yeah.
8. What is it? 8-1.
8-1.
8-1. I mean, you're in second place now, behind a Houston team who's the best team in the country.
And thanks to Houston's comeback, the Iowa State, that was only, from their perspective, only the second biggest choke job in the Big 12 in the last couple of days.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But I just think right now what we saw was Caleb Love cement his Arizona legacy. I don't think it doesn't matter, and I hate to say this, we will forget about the game last year against Clemson where he stunk. You will forget that he was 1 for 10 going into overtime. You will remember that Caleb Love made an iconic shot in Arizona history.
Well,
that's what you'll remember.
Oh, well, sure, absolutely, and it will be. And it already is. It's an instant classic. The number 3 team in the country coming in, primetime television. And it wasn't just, you know, an average conference opponent, you know, where you get bailed out and you find a way. The Iowa State is one of the best teams in the country. And they pulled out they did kind of the opposite against Texas Tech a week earlier. I mean, that wasn't quite as big crazy a finish. I mean, to make that kind of shot, but um, Arizona didn't shoot especially well most of the game. That especially from three, I still think they're taking too many threes. The last one was good, and the ones in overtime are great. When Caleb Love's feeling it, he's just as dangerous as anyone in the country. But I the way I was going to react to it if they hadn't won was, it was a close game. There's no shame in losing a close game to a great team like that.
Nope.
But I still have concerns about the way this team finishes. And again, I'll save that for our full length episode this week. But I think in terms of just what this could do for the rest of the season, there are defining moments, and this could. I feel like the team, they cleared one mental hurdle sort of early when they won that game against Cincinnati, and they've done well since then. But I feel like they haven't beaten a great team this year until now.
Shane, they hadn't beaten. I mean, Cincinnati's not very good.
West Virginia has fallen off the face of the earth. Yeah.
Right. So both of those teams, Arizona did not have a signature win on their schedule before tonight. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
This is a win, regardless of what happens the rest of the year. You and I can sit there and bash them, and I'm sure that I will say the same. I will do it before the end of the year. I will be critical. Yeah. Regardless, the 2024-25 season has a signature moment that we will not forget. We will remember where we were watching that shot. We won't forget it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what I was thinking is I was thinking back at when Caleb Love made that shot, and I was already thinking, even before overtime started, I was thinking, okay, if Arizona wins this game, what can that do for Arizona the rest of the season? What kind of moment? And I thought back to Jaden Daniels' Hail Mary against the Bears and how that, I mean, I almost called them the other word. The Commanders were off to a good start already, but that I think propelled them to go as far as they did in the postseason. And they fell short, but they got the NFC Championship game. No one expected them to go that far. So those kinds of moments, call them lucky, call them whatever, they can be season altering moments. And just this team getting, I feel like it's just as big a mental hurdle as anything. Getting over that mental hurdle of knowing we can find a way to beat good teams, even though it was a crazy ending, even though it was, nine times out of 100, you're not going to make that shot. This could be the catalyst for bigger things down the road, including in the NCAA tournament. And like you said, Eric, the Arizona played 8 games in the Big 12 already. They were 7-1. That's great. But 4 of their 12 toughest games were still to come. 2 against Iowa State, the home game against Houston coming up, and the game at Kansas. They had that first of the 4. They won it. Goes down as a win, no matter how you want to count it. And it was just great, great national exposure. Not that Arizona needs more of it, but it doesn't hurt. And they did it well. Anthony Del Orso, who was was lights out against Colorado, couldn't do anything right in this game. Henry Vasar was non-existent most of the game, and Arizona still found a way to win. And that was. I'm still digesting it. I was ready to just talk, do our usual episode and talk about, it's a close game and they get over the hump, and they still got work to do. They still got a lot of things to clean up, but they hung with one of the best teams in the country. They found a crazy way to win. And this could be the difference between, fading in the NCAA tournament and going a long way. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe this game is going to be as crazy as it was. It's going to be a distant memory when you go into the tournament, because so many other crazy games and crazy bounces are going to happen the rest of the way.
No. See, no. This is an iconic moment, Shane. You cannot this is not a game we're going to forget. Regardless if Arizona goes one and done in the tournament, you're not forgetting that they just beat the number 3 team in the country on a half-court shot where they were down with 2 seconds left and threw up this is a iconic play.
Oh, 100% agree. I'm not, as far as highlight reels, this will be remembered forever. I'm just looking at it in terms of this particular season and how far this team can go.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that you said it best. They got over the hurdle. And I think you saw some development from guys like Awaka go 17 and 12 tonight. Yeah. Carter Bryant hit 4 3-pointers, scored 14 points.
Yep.
His development. It was bad for Del Orso, wasn't good. Jaden Bradley had 7 steals, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 9 points. That is an insane game that Jaden Bradley had in a different way. KJ Lewis, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. For confidence purposes, that is the key here. Now, they have a tough schedule remaining. You can't get swept in your next 2 at ASU and at BYU. You can't do it. And Arizona will probably, I mean, even if you went 500 the rest of the way, they're in the tournament, right? Like I think this pretty. I mean, right now we said they needed to go 13-7, and basically they're 8-1 already. If they went 5-6, and the rest of
Oh,
league play,
they're making the tournament here. There's no, I
I
mean,
mean,
no doubt.
barring a tremendous collapse,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Agree.
mean, they're already
But
number 16 in net going into this game, and they're gonna. We'll have to see what it looks like in the morning, but they're gonna move up a few spots, and they're gonna have more opportunities. I mean, their previous two games, wins over Colorado and Oklahoma State, they just kind of turned the dial and they did what they were supposed to do, and that was more about avoiding a bad loss. But going forward, there's just going to be chances for quality win after another. Six of their next seven games, so five of their next six now are against quad one opponents or quad one opportunities based on the team and the location. So lots of I'm looking at the stats. I mean, Del Orso didn't score. Townsend had 7
it was
points.
not a game for him. It
No,
was not a game for Del Orso, and it was
he didn't
not
play
a game for
much.
Townsend.
Yeah, he didn't play much second half. He was out there
But
toward
they
the
didn't.
end.
They didn't belong. Yeah, but they didn't belong for the most part on the court. Like
Yeah.
those guys, it did not fit them. Iowa State is an aggressive team. Iowa State's a really good team. Like I was
they are.
watching them throughout the game. I'm going, this is a Final Four caliber team. That's how good I think they are.
And Arizona plays them one more time, maybe two more times. So it'll be Iowa State fans already got that one circled on their schedule when they go to Ames. I think Arizona's last two road games of the season are against Iowa State and Kansas. Then they got the Big 12
I don't think
tournament.
I'll tell you what, Shane. I think Kansas. You talk about a game that Arizona came out and gained confidence. I think Kansas found a way to do just the opposite on Saturday.
Twice they're up
I mean,
four with 10 seconds left or 15, whatever it was, and then they have the ball up 6, 2 free throws,
and
with
missed a
16
free
seconds.
throw.
Amazing.
Right. I mean, that is an all-time choke. What happened to Iowa State? You're like, the guy hit a big shot, just like a crazy shot, just like we saw with Arizona State and Arizona a couple years ago, where the Sun Devils hit that half quarter. Like it was what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're Iowa State, you're like, well, that sucks, but we're still a really good team. We still have a chance of getting a 1 seed or a 2 seed, and we're probably going to be just fine. For Arizona, this is something that gets you over that hump. All right, we finally beat a team that we probably didn't deserve to beat.
Yeah.
And now the meat of our schedule is ahead, and now let's see what's up.
Yeah. And I think it's just a reminder for me is, I'm trying to think, okay, there are other guys who could step up late, not named Caleb Love, who can take over a game, and there just aren't any who are quite there. I think Carter Bryant eventually could be. If he returns to Arizona next year, he could be the guy. Jaden Bradley maybe as well, KJ Lewis, but Caleb Love is really the guy who he wants the ball in his hands for better or worse. And usually, tie game, they're down up a score with 3 or 4 minutes left. I cringe every time he gets the ball. And he went 8 for 22 in this game, but he made the big shots when it mattered. Not just, the half court heave was what it was a fortunate shot, but then he got into overtime and he was just feeling it and he just took over.
2 big shots, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think we just have to live with the reality, or the strong likelihood that Arizona's season, their tournament hopes, regardless of the maturation and development of other players, is going to come down to whether Caleb Love plays well in a late game situation, whether the shots fall or they don't fall. That's what it's going to come down to for Arizona.
I still don't look at this Arizona team and I say this is Final Four caliber team. I don't think you can, but I can say this team is a lot better than they were in mid-December when we wrote them off against UCLA. That's what I'm going to say. When I wrote,
oh yeah,
I gave up on them. I gave up.
I was close.
And by the way, I was watching the end of UCLA USC tonight. I don't know if you saw that, where USC was down 1, had 2 free throws, bricked them both, and then UCLA pulled away. And this was all in the final minute. So teams just find a way.
Yeah.
And I felt like UCLA found a way at the end of regulation, and Arizona in overtime. After the shot, you could have easily had a letdown there. And you go and you have, they entered the game on what, a 10-0 run, Shane, something like that?
Well, they were down 75-73, I think it was. So they scored 30. They went on 2 big runs in the game. They scored 14 or 16 in a row toward the end of the first half. They gave that up, but it was a back and forth game. And then I think they scored the final 13 points in overtime. Iowa State ended up scoring 4 points. So, I think Iowa State's going to be fine. I agree with you. I still come out of this game thinking Iowa State's more likely a Final Four or at least a championship contender than Arizona is. But I go back and I'll probably be my last thought of the night because it's almost midnight here. I mentioned to Matt Muehlbach last week, I feel like there's a big difference between teams that are capable of getting to the Final Four and teams capable of winning the national championship. You might not think there's much of a gap there because the brackets, when it's narrowed down just to 4 teams, but I think the difference between 4 wins and 6 wins is big. You see a lot of teams, call them fluky teams, whatever, like NC State last year, George Mason, 7 seed South Carolina a few years ago when they played in Glendale, Loyola Chicago.
NC State last
year. A
year.
lot of those teams are capable of winning 4 games, getting hot, winning 4 games, but it's another thing to beat the best of the best in the semifinals and the finals. And very, very few of those teams are able to do that. I think they're one of the teams because I feel like in any given year, probably 6 or 7 teams are capable of winning the national championship. But I would say almost half of the teams that get into the NCAA tournament are capable of winning 4 games in a row if they get hot. Maybe not that many, but close. And Arizona is definitely in that mix, and they're probably toward the upper half or the upper maybe quarter of those teams. I don't think, from what I've seen, they're quite national championship contenders yet, but I've seen enough to believe that if they get hot at the right time, if in other words, if Caleb Love stays hot at the right time, that's just how it is. Then Arizona could win 4 in a row when they get there. But I think this game could be the difference between getting there and not, just based on the confidence this win gave them.
Exactly. It's about going forward. What does this do? Now, don't come out flat on Saturday in Tempe.
Yeah.
And that is a key. That's a key game. You go win that game. I mean, you have to split at least ASU and BYU on the road. Like when you play back-to-back road games, you got to split. You got to split those. I know you were going to say win both, but you got to at least get a split there.
Yeah.
To keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose to ASU coming off a win like this. Fortunately, they have 5 days of rest, which they're going to need it because they played their butts off tonight.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, does Caleb Love get this confidence now where he can now carry this team, in his last college basketball hurrah? Can he carry them to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, or Final Four? I mean, you saw that guy DJ Burns for NC State last year. They got a lucky shot in the ACC tournament. Went on to win the ACC tournament.
Great point.
And then got all the way to the final. What they win, 8 in a row.
Yeah.
Based on a lucky shot against Virginia. I mean, think about that. You never know what's next. So I think, we'll see how they come out on Saturday. But for now, my final thought is this was an iconic play, once again, that we will not forget. It will be in the highlight reels, and I hope that Arizona builds off of it, just like we saw their performance in overtime when they scored the last 11 points, hit their last 3 3-pointers, and finished the game strong. Hopefully they continue that in the regular season.
Yeah.
And finally, I have been wrong all along, and I hope I continue to be wrong.
We've both been wrong in different ways.
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, and I lied. One more thing. Arizona did a great job defensively against Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones was averaging 22 points a game his last 5 or 6 games. He had 33 at ASU. 8 points tonight. 1 of 11 shooting. 0 of 8 from 3-point range. I think it was a combination of people, but
Caleb Love was the primary. I mean, this was.
But they did a great. But that also tells you how good Iowa State is, because they still almost found a way to win, and certainly from their perspective should have won.
And then despite one of their key players. One of their key players was out too.
Yeah. So anyway, I do I buy that Arizona's up at the upper echelon? Not quite. Could this game propel them there or close to it? Absolutely.
For now, we're going to savor it. And we will be back with another episode, probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning, somewhere in that range. We'll break down, some further thoughts from this game. We'll talk to a college basketball expert. You'll find out somebody that has never been on the program before, if all goes well. And, we'll preview ASU, BYU, and talk about a variety of other things. But you know what? One last thing for me, the crowd tonight was fantastic. For a Monday night, and I do not like Monday or Tuesday night games. We talked about this. I missed the Thursday night Pac-12 game. This crowd was phenomenal tonight. Great job, Tucson. You showed up. It's a game I wish I could have been at, but guess what? I will probably never in my working life go to a Monday night game in Tucson when you have to drive 2 hours. Just you can't do it. You can't. But regardless, for those who were there, great job. You made us all proud. So Shane, I'm glad we did this. It's pretty exciting after some disappointment that we've had over the last 6 months to finally have a reason for more excitement.
Yeah, and it's always fun to wake up after a game like that and like, oh yeah, that really just happened last night. Yeah, it's good, especially after what happened with the Bills Chiefs the night before. This was a nice distraction for me.
I bet Matt Muehlbach's having a really good night after his Chiefs.
I'm sure. Oh yeah, he went 2-0. This yeah, good for him.
Well, thanks for listening. Whenever you have a chance to listen to us, probably sometime on Tuesday. Regardless, thanks to our primary sponsor, our big sponsor, Harrah's Auction Casino. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, bear down. Heck of a win.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi folks, here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.